All right. Hello, hello. Kind of a late stream, but got a bunch of shit done. I didn't really do anything to the map. Today was pretty much just trying to find out how I really want to progress with the environment side of things. That makes sense. You can kind of go over what I did. And kind of what I settled on doing. But first things first, I went through a couple different solutions on how to handle like the quarry and like the aesthetics and stuff. Like emissive lights are cool and all, but I needed some like detail on the siding, just because it looks like way too plain. So I was like, maybe I can add like ore or like nodes around the like sides to give it like texture and detail, which is what this is here. And it just doesn't look right. It doesn't fit in. And there is a way to make it blend in using runtime virtual textures. But the one problem with that is, see how this is like blinking? You can't use like any type of like timing or like dynamic textures with RVT. So that kind of led us into a bit of a predicament. I tried a couple other things, like painting the texture onto the side as well, and I got rid of it. I don't think I have. No, I don't have anything like that there. But I was like trying to mix the textures and like paint them on, and try to like paint like ore and like veins in the sides of the cliffs here. But the one problem I ran into with that was the landscape on like the Z is stretched really far. And we're not going to be like painting that texture like everywhere like this right here. So the problem is when you do that, the texture actually expands. Even if it doesn't scale, the actual texture itself will kind of stretch over into the next like tile. It's really hard to describe that without actually like showing it. But just know it wasn't a good idea. And what I finally settled on was using decals. Decals, however you say it. And this solved a couple of the problems for us. One, it can be dynamic, so it's able to glow, and it can change how much it's actually being emissive during runtime. And two, it solves stretching, so it's not going to expand on the Z like painting would. And I can control the size and everything as well, and it blends into the back pretty nicely. So I'm going to be using decals. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm going to use these for the ore veins. I'm not going to put them everywhere, but I am going to put a couple of them around the map. The large ones are going to go on the bottom or towards the bottom here. And then I'll probably put like a couple smaller ones up here. And in the material for these things, I actually have it set to the higher they are on the Z, the less emissive they'll actually be. So you'll see one up here. You can actually see that only half of this is pretty much lit. The reason I did that is because I wanted to represent that this was already like harvested or like used, whereas like there's more like fresh nodes towards the bottom here. So the environment I'm really trying to make is, this is still kind of like an active quarry, or at least there's like active veins of ore still around. And this is going to play into some of the events on the map. One of them being, the lower the character is or player is on the map, like the closer they are to these active veins, the more damage the player is going to do. Same thing with crossing the bridge. When a character is actually on the bridge and above this ravine here, they are actually going to get a similar damage boost. So it's kind of like an exposure effect. When the character is more exposed to these veins, they will be able to do more damage. So I'm going to test that out and see how that feels. The main reason I'm doing that is because it kind of solves some problems with high ground advantage. And also like the linear fashion of crossing a bridge. There's two massive disadvantages that players have when they're lower and when they only have one path to actually go to. So giving damage increases in those particular instances seems like it's a pretty good way to balance that out. I don't know if I'll actually be doing too much on stream. I spent a majority of the day just problem solving this to kind of get a path to go towards. Tomorrow I'll actually be putting these decals pretty much all over the map and getting it set up that way. And I also have a couple other static meshes that I want to put on the map as well. And I want to get the outside environment completed tomorrow as well. The whole goal is to create like mountains and stuff in the background that the player can pretty much like barely see. But I really want the environment to feel like the player is like pretty small. And that they are in like an absolutely massive area. So I can explain further in detail when we're actually building it out, but just as an example, I could probably put a static mesh down just to give you an idea of what we're going for here. Oh, also a neat little trick you can do with meshes to kind of trick the player's like point of view is by having these meshes just like pivot or rotate at one point and they kind of like collapse together. It's the same kind of trick that you see in like those old-fashioned like movies and cartoons where the hallway gets smaller as they walk towards the door and shit. But anyways, yeah, so I want to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing tomorrow. I'm just going to quickly grab a rock mesh and show you what we're going to do. There was one that I used before that worked pretty well. I don't know if it's in this pack. It might be in the other one. There is the meshes props. Nope. Architecture. I know it's somewhere here. Maybe it was in the Deep Elder Caves pack. I basically just took a rock and scaled it up to an enormous amount. Is it here? I actually don't know. Alright, real quick, I'm going to show you what I'm trying to do here, while also finding the prop that I need. We're basically going to do the same effect that I did in the lobby. So, teleport there. Yeah, this right here. Oh, okay, it was from the Quixel Bridge. So if I light this, I basically took a extremely small static mesh and scaled it up to an insane amount. But it's basically just to give the player like a feel of the world being like extremely massive. And I'm actually going to use this same prop in the other level, and I'll show you what we're going to do there. I'm going to change the color of it as well. Let's bring this over. So all we care about is how the player can view this. Let me slow the camera down just a little bit here. You can also reuse pretty much like the same asset, we just gotta change it around just a little bit. So if you look, when we move, you can see that like all this terrain close to us, right, moves pretty quickly. But when we move, the mountains and everything barely move in the back. It gives kind of like a parallax effect. And that's kind of what we want to go for. So we're actually going to make a couple more of these mountains around. What we're going to do is just move it closer and closer in and change it around. Tomorrow, not only are we going to do this and set up the actual like outside environment here and kind of build like the scene around everything, we're also going to do some very minor detailing as well in the actual playable environment too. A lot of it is actually going to be sound design, which is also really important and I don't want to say overlooked, but I guess not cared for enough. So I'm going to show you how to actually create like sound effects or adjust the sound in your map so it fits the actual area that you're in. We're going to do all that with audio volumes. You can actually layer them, so the more open, so like for instance, like on the first level of this, the reverb is going to be higher. The higher up or more open it is, and when we go down to these levels here, it's a more closed space, so it's actually going to be a lower reverb, and the actual bounce of sound coming off the walls will be a lot faster. So it's not something the player's really going to take notice of, but it just helps with immersion in the game itself. It's one of probably the most important things in a game when building an environment is making sure that your audio matches the actual design of the map itself. So I'm going to be showing a couple tricks that I learned over the years of actually designing audio for maps that actually fits what you're trying to do. So at most, the player is going to be here. I'm just making sure that there's no like visible bottom portions of our mountains to any players. I don't know what the hell this song is though. So copy that, move that, turn it a bit too. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I am designing this from the viewpoint of the player. Like this is typically the highest I'll be able to get, is like right here. That looks pretty good. We just got to put the mountains on the other side and then just put like a couple more down there. And then do some pretty minor like outside detailing. One of the things I'm going to do is actually have statues in the distance as well. So there's a couple things. The player's almost never going to see this. Like at most I think they'll see like the peak of the mountain back there. These ore veins will probably change up as well. I'm not going to have the ground visible either, so I'm going to push this floor down even further and then put a layer of mist at the bottom so it's not visible. Probably want to turn this just a little bit. One thing we want to make sure that we're doing here is kind of matching the other side. I think, yeah, this side is coming forward just a little bit too fast. Just gotta spread these out. And what we're going to do is actually just pretty much copy and paste the mountains here. That 4 on that side, 4 on this side. I think these ones are a little bit more spaced out. We need to flip it on the, what is that, the X? I'm just gonna move our sun visor out of the way real quick. All right. Just want to see it from this side. The lighting isn't too great. I think I need to change the clouds, definitely. Oh yeah, you can actually see some of the clouds through the density. So I definitely have to increase the density of the clouds. Also probably gonna change these as well. I might slightly increase the size of the mountains. I don't know, there's like a bunch of minor tweaks we have to make to this. I'm going to be messing with lighting tomorrow. I think I might have these actually not cast any shadows or anything. And we'll also kind of tweak how they take in lighting as well. I might just have it ignore lighting. And then we'll put some artificial lights in to make them look better. I also have to optimize everything too. The static meshes definitely have to get instanced. A bunch of shit. Oh yeah, I gotta put this in my notes too. There must be like, there's one texture in the pool that has a really crazy amount of spec to it. Yeah, I also want to make the bridges tomorrow. I don't know, to be honest with you, I really like the whole aesthetic with the map. Once we had the sound design in and the rest of the ore and the bridges, I mean, it's pretty much playable. So I'll be testing it out. But yeah, to be honest with you, today was more so just like hop on, you know, give everyone an update. And also kind of go over my thought process on a couple things. But yeah, I'm gonna show like a couple really quick things tomorrow before we get into like the nitty-gritty shit of like audio design, like how to have better audio for maps or like rooms or anything like that. We'll get into world design shit, and then we'll get into the interactable environment stuff. So just all a bunch of art and design. It'll be cool. But yeah, if you have any questions about pretty much anything that I've done thus far with the map itself or my game in general, feel free to reach out to me. Leave comments or hit me up on Discord. I typically answer pretty quick. But yeah, with that being said, I'm probably gonna head off for the night, and I'll be back. I'll be back hopefully early tomorrow. We can get everything done on stream. With that being said, have a great afternoon, evening, night, morning, wherever you are. Peace.